Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
Happy New Year!
Yeah. Should old acquaintance be forgot? What'd you get for Christmas, Matt?
So many good things. I got
Uh-huh.
just the best things. All of them. You think of the best things? I got them all.
I got some amount of gifts that were wrapped, and I unwrapped them, and I'll leave it at that.
Was there anything in stockings, maybe?
Per usual, yes. My mom does still do the stocking thing. Do you do the stocking thing?
We do the stocking thing just for ourselves.
My mom still also does the gifts from Santa thing. Does that happen to you anymore?
No, I have not had that in many a year. I had I think it was, which is like sort of a traditional evolution for children as kids when they start questioning their parents about Santa Claus. I remember asking, like, why does Santa use the same wrapping paper as you?
Damn.
And then I remember asking, my mother has very distinct handwriting. And I remember asking, like, why does Santa have the same handwriting as Mom? And then it transitioned into that phase where, Santa's gifts aren't wrapped anymore. There's some unwrapped gifts. Like, there's unwrapped gifts under the tree. Those are from Santa. The wrapped gifts, those are from Mom and Dad.
That's a weird compromise.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get a rubber stamp that has Santa on it if ever I have children. That's how I'm going to get around that one. I think about it a lot because it'll be fun to give gifts from Santa, I think.
You got to get one that says, like, to their name from Santa. So it just seems very official, the whole thing.
Yeah. With like what's that called? Not a clerk and recorder. Who's
a notary?
The person who does the stamp? Yes.
Each
one's notarized.
You have Santa's notary. But it's not Christmas anymore, Sam. It's New Year's.
It's stupid that we're even talking about Christmas.
Why would we even mention it?
2022.
It's been like, 2 weeks since Christmas? Why are we even bringing that up? But this is a brand new year, which brings to us a brand new season of The Muppet Show. And it's season 3 of The Muppet Show. And this week we watched the first 3 episodes in New York airing order, which aired between September 21st, 1978 and October 5th, 1978. And these are the episodes featuring guests Helen Reddy, Roy Clark, and Gene Stapleton. And we also watched a couple of other things the Muppets were up to in September of 1978, which first was Big Bird's appearance on NBC Salutes the 25th anniversary of The Wonderful World of Disney. And then a short clip of the Muppets winning an Emmy.
It's weird to see Disney stuff on NBC.
It's also weird to see Big Bird say, "I'm finally part of Disney."
Yeah.
And it's just Big Bird on a Disney thing on NBC is just something that would not happen anymore. A couple things I wanted to mention real quick here at the top of the show. Recently, the Ed Sullivan Show YouTube channel unearthed a clip that is something we have watched before, but they made it prettier. It was a performance by Kermit and Grover from May 1970, performing What Kind of Fool Am I? That we talked about, 10, 12 episodes ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And when we watched it, it was a very, very shitty black and white copy with a bunch of like VHS tracking. Well, they re-released it now in like high-def color from the official Ed Sullivan Show YouTube account. And it looks great. And Grover is, like, this is the first time he was ever blue, and he's very fluffy and weird looking. And yeah, so if you want to go, check that out, it's just on the Ed Sullivan Show YouTube channel.
I wasn't expecting him to be blue.
Yeah, I think we were kind of talking about that when we talked about that episode because he had been his, like, dirty, grimy green around that time. And we weren't sure when he transitioned to blue. And since we only had the black and white version, we didn't know for sure.
We still didn't know. But he's blue. He's blue as the day is long.
And it kind of looks like this is how he started out, like, very fluffy. And then now they're just like using the same Grover puppet, and he just got gross and matted.
He's a little matted down.
Yeah.
That's what in this season of the Muppet Show, Kermit looks very like pilled and fluffy as well. And I was wondering if that was like a change in fabric or if they've just been using the same Kermit for so long that he's getting a little janky.
I'm also confused about Sam Eagle because there's been a couple times we've seen different Sam Eagle poppets.
Poppets, huh?
Poppets. Sam poppets. There's been a couple times we've seen different Sam Eagle poppet. Jesus Christ. I keep wanting to say...
You're turning into that guy from Pirates of the Caribbean, Matt.
Which one?
The one who says poppet.
Oh, poppet.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is we've seen a number of Sam Eagle puppets pop up. That's what I was trying to get out.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third time's the charm, though. And we've seen a Sam Eagle, sort of like we see in this batch of episodes, with like a grimy, greeny, like looking head, where it seems like he was blue, and now that it's kind of fading to the yellow foam color. But we've also seen one that had like blue fleece over his head and looked nice and clean. And I'm not sure why they're not using that one as much. Maybe he's not as flexible or something. But it's weird that we saw a refreshed, nice, clean, new Sam Eagle puppet, and now we don't see him anymore.
One time. Yeah. Maybe they lost him.
Well, I also recently learned via Twitter that the Mildred puppet and the Droop puppet, when you see them pop up on things now, like Muppets Haunted Mansion or other little specials, those are still like the same one puppet that they made back in like 1976, and they just never updated them.
Do they stink?
I mean, I would have to assume.
I would be scared to stick my hand in there. It might be some kind of a critter.
But yeah, somebody verified on Twitter that the Mildred puppet that was used for something in the last 5-10 years, when they were using it, there was a tag inside, like an inventory tag that verified that this was like the original Mildred from like 1975 or whatever.
What the hell? That's so weird.
Yeah. And it's normally like on display at the Center for Puppetry Arts, but they like loaned it to them for this performance. Like apparently Mildred is just so unique, they can't rebuild Mildred. Now that it's the New Year, Sam, you know what that means? It means we can hang up our sexy Miss Piggy calendars.
I have a nail in the wall for it and everything.
For those that don't know, for our birthdays, Sam and I exchanged gifts, and I got him the 1983 Miss Piggy calendar, which 1983 and 2022 had the same calendar. So you can reuse your 1983 calendars for 2022.
And you got yourself one as well.
I did, because I was trying to win eBay auctions and ended up getting two. And so I have one as well. So we can finally pull out this sexy piggy and find a nice...
Yeah, I'm a little worried about it. I'm not going to put it at work because people will be like, why is Miss Piggy nude wrapped in bed sheets on your wall? Well, it's a long story.
It's not necessarily like a long story. I think it's just a weird, not very... It's not a very helpful story. Like, it doesn't make it better of the reason.
Once upon a time, there was a pervert who worked for Muppets, and he was in love with Miss Piggy. And he liked to draw her sexy and then take pictures of her sexy. And his name was...
Michael Frith, who is not probably actually a pervert. We should probably say that.
Oh,
but he did like
Michael.
to pose Miss Piggy in sexy calendars.
She's got sex appeal. I'm not going to deny it, but... You got to be pretty comfortable.
I feel like you
yourself.
and Michael Frith could have a long conversation about the sexiness of Miss Piggy.
I might have an idea or two for him. Hell, I don't know.
The other thing, when the New Year comes along, Sam, is those old New Year's resolutions. And so I'm just curious.
Oh my gosh.
If you have any podcast or Muppet-related New Year's resolutions.
What a thing to spring on me. What a very specific question.
I thought about letting you know ahead of time, and then I was like, yeah, this will be better.
Gosh, I'd love to actually stick to my editing schedule that I have on my phone that goes off as an alarm that I never follow. That would be great.
Does it just say, like, edit Kermitment now? And you say,
edit half
no!
of it today, edit half of it Sunday, and I always say, ha! Oh, I scoff at you. I'm watching Vampire Diaries. I can't edit Kermitment right now. I don't think so. I mean, I would love to. This is like a wish more than anything, but I want by the end of 2022 to have met Rolf. That's my life's goal.
I like that you're putting your life's goal in the next year.
If I don't, I mean, I'm old. I'll be 35 by the end of next year, and it's all over for me then. It's a wrap after 35.
I think the editing goal feels like a realistic one that you can do. The Rolf one feels a little bit more pie in the sky. But who knows? Kermitment might completely blow up in the next few months.
Yeah, don't underestimate my laziness or overestimate how popular we could get, you know?
Yeah, I just got to keep trying to become friends with Lin-Manuel Miranda and top of the charts.
And everybody listening has to tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends. And then in like 4 iterations of that, everyone in the world will be listening to Kermitment.
That's how
Simple.
it works. Yeah.
And then they give you $5, and then you send us $2.50, and then, then we'll be billionaires. It's all so easy. I don't know why nobody's doing it.
I think lots of people are. They're called pyramid schemes.
I know, but I don't know why no one's doing it to us.
Oh, like why no one's sending us money?
Yeah.
I did like that you didn't say send us all of the money you get from people. You gave them
You
half.
can keep half of it.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
a
keep
nice
half
little
of it.
deal.
Yeah, rising tide lifts all boats, but ours will be lifted a little higher.
Our big old yacht.
How about you? You have to have. If you say, "Oh, I don't have any," after you ask me that question, I'm going to be so mad.
To be fair, I didn't think about it until I asked it of you.
You sick freak.
I do like the idea of interacting with the Muppet world in some sort of official way in 2022.
Kermit sent Tough Pigs a Christmas card.
Yeah.
Kind of like video Christmas card. We could get a video Christmas card.
I mean,
from
Tough Pigs
Rolf.
has like 20 years of experience on us in the Muppet world.
Rolf could mail me his nose. I could bite it, and then I could mail it back to him. That's all I want.
I gotta tell you, for your birthday gift, I reached out to a guy who builds Muppet replicas and asked, like, how much could I buy a Rolf nose for?
Oh no!
And he was like,
priceless.
I don't do that. I don't sell just like part of a Muppet.
You should. You left money on the table, my friend.
Yeah, but I tried to buy you just a Rolf nose for your birthday.
Oh, you could have rented it. Would have come back slightly teeth marked, but it would have come back.
But no, I would like us to some, like, I don't want to necessarily like have guests on this show just to have a famous name on the show to say, hey, look, follow us. We got famous people around.
Right.
But I think interacting with some people who are closer to the Muppet world, whether that's former Muppet performers, current Muppet performers, whatever, I'd like to have somebody on our podcast with like firsthand knowledge.
Frankie baby, you got her digits. You just got to pick up the phone.
How did he get our digits?
406-491.
Oh, you're just going to say your phone number on the podcast, and then Frank Oz will listen and call you.
I'm going to put one digit randomly in each episode in the next 15 episodes. You'll be able to put together the rest of my phone number.
How long
That's
is
a
your phone
guarantee.
number?
4 more digits. The 4 is not one of the hints.
This is
not 4.
Very clear, not cryptic or confusing at all. Frank Oz is definitely going to take the time to figure this out. All right, Sam, start off this new year by telling us all this new stuff we watched.
September 21st, 1978. Basically me and Jib's birthday. And what a present it is to have Season 3 of The Muppet Show grace the screen. Should you be living in New York City, the first episode of Season 3 would star special guest Helen Reddy. It would also be the debut of the Muppet Theater's new janitor, Beauregard. One thing to know about Beauregard, Beau is incredibly stupid. And he's got sort of like an Amelia Bedelia thing going on where he takes everything in its most literal form. For example, Kermit tells him to use some elbow grease while cleaning the backstage, but Beau can't find elbow grease, so he uses axle grease, which makes the whole theater very slippery until Beau lays down like 4 feet of sand on the stage, which causes the Muppets to have to improvise a desert-based musical number for the finale. Standout moments here include a very good weaving of backstage and onstage shenanigans, like Beau's mix-up with the axle grease causes Fozzie to slip and slide through a dance routine he's doing on stage. The aforementioned sand situation ties into the backstage plot. And also, Helen Reddy is extremely charming and very good at interacting with the Muppets. Helen Reddy had a really long singing career, but most simply put and reductively put, she's the person who sang that song, I Am Woman. You know that song, Matt?
I am woman, hear me roar.
Yeah.
Something
Whoa,
that rhymes
is Helen
with
Reddy?
roar.
Is Helen Reddy on the podcast with us right now?
Yeah, she's got a very deep voice.
Oh,
That's the Australian. It just brings out the deep voice.
And also, Paul Williams, this little side note, co-wrote that song that she and Kermit sang together. It was originally like a joke song, but then they wrote it too good, and then Helen Reddy was like, "This song's too sweet to be a joke song," and they were like, "Oh, okay, you can sing it with your daughter."
The "You and Me Against the World" song?
Yeah, which kind of explains why a big part of it is about being afraid of clowns, which I thought was pretty funny. Kermit's probably thinking like, what the fuck? I'm not afraid of clowns.
Yeah, I love them. Did you see the Judy Collins episode?
We can go to the circus together. What are you talking about? Next up, September 28th, 1978. My and Jim's birthday have now come and gone, but the Roy Clark episode of The Muppet Show is kind of like another late birthday present. Roy Clark is a country musician, and Kermit has been saying, apparently, that The Muppet Show is going country, which has confused Fozzie to the point that he has sent all the stagehands out to the country to get ready for the show. This makes Kermit extremely mad, and he tells Fozzie that he's responsible for all of the stage work, and if the show goes wrong, he's fired. So immediately the theater catches on fire. Fozzie has to cover it up the best he can while the gang tries to put the fire out, and all the while Fozzie is raising the curtain, striking the sets, all of the stuff that a stagehand would do. It all turns out okay in the end, though, as Roy Clark seemingly distracts Kermit with some fiddle music before he can fire Fozzie. It does seem like he's about to fire Fozzie, and then Roy Clark comes out and plays fiddle, hypnotizing Kermit like he's some kind of wild beast or something.
His southern swamp roots kick in.
That's
He's
true.
like, I can't resist a fiddle.
Yeah, tapping my toes. I can't fire my friend now. Standouts here include another good backstage on-stage interplay where Fozzie really is scrambling around at moments to get everything together, and the show does eventually completely explode as Gonzo destroys the stage and Kermit falls in a big hole. Roy Clark is also a hoot, and his first number, where he plays with 4 copies of himself, is very Jack Black-y, I thought. Big wide smiles, crazy eyes, and like that same energy.
I feel like he's 2 degrees away from full-on Jack Black. If someone gave him permission to lean a little bit more into it, he would just be rootin' tootin' across the stage.
Exactly. And another stand-up moment in actually good Pigs in Space. It could happen, and it did. I like this one. Roy Clark was a country musician, but his real claim to fame was that he was the host of Hee Haw for 30 years. I didn't know Hee Haw ran for 30 years.
Neither did I until looking up that detail for this episode.
Who the hell's watching Hee Haw in 1997?
I remember seeing reruns of it occasionally as I was flipping through the channels, and it always seemed like it was from the 70s. I didn't know that it continued into the 90s.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, surely it went away for a little while. It did not. It was on the whole entire time. There's 700 episodes of Hee Haw.
We'll actually get to see some Hee Haw eventually on this podcast, because both Big Bird and Oscar will make appearances on Hee Haw.
Weird.
And I know at least the Oscar one is online that we can watch.
Hee Haw seems like a Muppet Show thing more than a Sesame Street thing to me, but...
Well, Hee Haw was actually the brainchild of Jim Henson's talent manager, Bernie Brillstein.
What?
Yeah, and Roy Clark was previously in Jimmy Dean's band, the Texas Wildcats, back in the day. So both Roy Clark and Hee Haw have connections to the Muppet world already.
Finally, on October 5th, 1978, All in the Family star Gene Stapleton stops by The Muppet Show. This one's a bit more of a mishmash of plots than the other ones, but the one that pays off the most is that Annie Sue, is her name Annie Sue?
It is Annie Sue.
A new pig character, or at least she has a name this season and didn't before, keeps popping up in skits, and eventually Piggy catches on to this. Annie Sue and Kermit even kind of seem to have a little bit of an affection for each other, which leads Piggy to demand that Annie Sue's roles for the rest of the show go to her. Kermit tells Piggy that that's not the best idea, but eventually agrees, and Piggy finds herself tied to some train tracks for a melodrama skit in which the hero forgets to untie her and save her. Standouts here include Gene Stapleton really getting into it with a lot of Muppets, including Sam Eagle, Swedish Chef, and a very cute bit where she's on stage interacting with the whole orchestra pit, which I thought was really cool. Roy Clark does a similar thing. And then she even gives Crazy Harry his biggest role yet as she sings while he plays his explodophone. Really, this episode, the only misfire in my opinion was maybe the worst at the dance that there has ever been, or one of the worst ones. It was just not very funny and confusing, and the rest was extremely solid. Gene Stapleton had a big, long career as well, but simply put, she was Edith Bunker on All in the Family. A year after this episode of The Muppet Show, she will ask to be written out of All in the Family, or she'll be asked to be written out of the All in the Family spinoff, that is, Archie Bunker's place, and her character dies of a stroke off screen, but she keeps being on TV shows forever. One thing I learned while reading about her on her wiki page, Murphy Brown and Everybody Loves Raymond were on air at the same time, which seems insane to me. Doesn't they seem like 20 years apart?
She was on those shows, I'm guessing, at certain times?
Yeah, she was on those shows in the same year.
Oh, wild.
Doesn't that seem wrong?
It does feel like Murphy Brown was off the air for like 10 years before Raymond came along, but I guess not.
Yeah. Finally, we watched 2 little short things. One was Big Bird's guest appearance on NBC Salutes the 25th anniversary of The Wonderful World of Disney.
So long.
He pops up in the intro as part of a completely awful montage of stars singing Hi-Ho.
Whoa. Slow down, Sam. Singing is a very strong word choice.
Okay.
For that hi-ho thing that not only do 80% of those stars not sing, they're forced to sing new, improved, in quotes, lyrics to hi-ho that are just, wow. This whole special,
Hi-ho,
I watched
hi-ho.
like half of it.
We've got Pinocchio.
Yeah, that's
the best one.
That is the best one. That is as good as it gets, people.
Oh, I really wanted to watch all of this, but what's Richie Cunningham's real name?
Ron Howard.
Yeah, when Ron Howard sang his part at the very beginning, I was like, no.
Yeah.
And they're all in like completely different keys. It's absolutely bonkers.
Ron Howard is no singer. I made it all the way until they start talking about some of the old Disney TV shows, and they show like 10 minutes of the old Zorro show, and I'm like, yeah, I can't watch 10 minutes of Zorro.
This isn't for me.
Yeah.
I can't do this. But Big Bird also has a brief segment with Olympic decathlete and very recent Republican candidate for governor of California, Caitlyn Jenner. Big Bird wants to fly or something, so they talk about Peter Pan for a second, and then Big Bird flies. But you don't see him fly. You just see feathers dropping from the ceiling, and Caitlyn Jenner's like, wow, he flew. It's stupid, and I tried to watch this whole thing the whole way through, but the hi-ho thing sucked so bad that I bailed instantly.
Yeah, there's a couple moments throughout that are sort of enjoyable. Like there's a moment where Scatman Carruthers and the guy who did the voice of Baloo in the Jungle Book sit down and they sing Bare Necessities, and then they sing Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. And because the guy who did Baloo is also like the main cat in Aristocats, and
Scatman Carruthers in Aristocats?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And so it's this very weird moment where you have these two like men in their 50s hanging out talking about like, wasn't it cool when we were in some Disney movies? And it's the guy who does Baloo is like very jovial and nice, and then Scatman Carruthers is always great. So I think that's the highlight as far as like what I checked out. But yeah, I don't think it's worth watching the whole like 2.5 hours. And it seems that there are some things cut out of this special, either for rights issues or just there's some segments where Ron Howard will introduce something, and then the next thing is very clearly not the thing he just introduced. And I'm like, all right, I don't need to watch this whole thing because it's not even here. But
in the part we watched when Caitlyn Jenner's like, do you ever heard about Peter Pan? Then it cuts to like a frame that says Peter Pan segment cut for rights issues, and then it goes back to Caitlyn Jenner being like, wow, he flew or whatever.
Yeah, then we just see Big Bird's feathers dropping down.
Yeah. Finally, we watched Jim Henson accept the 1978 Emmy for Outstanding Comedy, Variety, or Music Series on behalf of The Muppet Show. He gives a very simple little speech stating what people who listen to the show probably already know. The Muppets are many, many people and not just him, which I thought was nice. He doesn't really thank anybody in particular, which I guess is also...
He's playing it safe. He realizes if he starts to thank people, he's going to leave somebody out. And so he just says multiple times, it's a big list. It's a big list of people. So I'll write it down. I'll pass it around later. You can all check it out. But I'm not going to thank anyone in particular.
It is nice. We haven't really seen Jim in a few years, I feel like give an interview or something. He's usually so long-winded. But this time he just keeps it. He's not like, the definition of puppet is Merriam-Webster. It says a puppet, but he's just like, okay, I'm getting out of here.
It was nice to see, like when they got up on stage, it was Jim Henson, Dave Goelz, David Laser, and Frank Oz that were there to accept the awards, and it seemed like they had expected maybe one or two other people to be there.
Because what's that guy's name?
Steve Martin.
Yeah. Can't remember anybody's name. There's something wrong with me. Steve Martin is standing in the background with multiple more Emmys to give out, but no one left to hand them to.
Yeah, he like keeps getting more from the like assistant on the side of the stage, and then goes to hand them out and realizes like, oh, there's nobody else. I'll just hold these, I guess. Yeah, presumably like Jerry Nelson and some other people would be there to accept it, but they were not.
No women allowed though.
Yeah, Louise Gold hopefully got one of those Emmys.
Yeah.
She does a lot of work in this season, especially. Well, yeah, you mentioned a few of the new things about this season, but I want to talk about them a little bit before we dive into the actual episodes. We have the Why Don't You Get Things Started at the beginning of the intro theme song.
Yeah.
We get to see
Much
the entire theater. The full audience is there. We get a lot of rando puppets that I can't even really pick out of a crowd.
You can see New Purple Lothar, though. Quite large.
And you can see, I'm forgetting his name, unfortunately, the mean bear character that Frank Oz plays in Emmett Otter's Jugman Christmas is like, he's like redressed and is sitting like front row center.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he seems like a very different character because he's there and excited to be watching this show. I learned via Muppet Wiki that is apparently a composite shot of like 7 different shots of Muppets, which is why all of the Muppets are actually moving and alive.
That's what I was wondering. How'd they get that many people for that day?
They did not. They probably had, like 15 or 20, and then filmed it in chunks and spliced it together.
There's a part where they're singing along, too, to a song, and they are all clearly not singing the song. So I imagine they just got that, and they were like, whenever we need to sing along, we'll just play this, where everybody's mouths are doing something completely different, and maybe no one will notice.
That's in the Gene Stapleton episode when she's performing with Fozzie, and they cut to like over her shoulder to show the crowd, and it's like, it's nice that we get to see the audience sort of watching her, but they're definitely not singing along properly.
They don't know this song.
Yeah. We also have a few new Muppets popping up this season, and we'll talk about some of them more in detail as we go. But Sam mentioned Beauregard, and he's actually going to be our Muppet of the Week this week, so we'll save the conversation about him for later. But we also have Gladys popping up for the first time. Gladys, the cafeteria lady, who is one of like the weirdest looking new Muppets we've had in a while.
A bit frightening. She presages, I feel like, a lot of Muppet design to come.
Well, and she also does not stick around very long. She's only here for the first half of season 3. Like, she disappears, just like goes away after the first half of season 3.
Do they still go to the cafeteria sometimes? Or?
I don't remember, Sam.
Okay. That seems like a weird addition to have. The Muppet Theater is obviously too low rent a place to have a whole operating like canteen in the bottom of it.
Yeah, and I don't know like if they just were trying to like think of either a way to use new characters or a way to have the Swedish chef doing more because he'll be working at the canteen as well. But it's something they do in Muppets Tonight as well because that's where like I think Pepe gets his start. He's like working at the little canteen cafeteria area.
At least TV shows have craft services, though. Like, a stage show is not going to be feeding anybody, I don't think. Maybe. I don't actually know.
I have to imagine they would for, like, union rules.
I feel like they're all there on their own time. Like, they all have day jobs, and that's not their day jobs.
Now I'm trying to
that was my
imagine what,
impression,
like, Fozzie's day job is.
He works at Starbucks. That would be hilarious, actually.
He's just a barista who's, like, writing joke names on all the cups.
Yeah, he'd be so bad at it.
I don't think he would last very long. He's a barista.
Oh, man.
It was right there.
Hire us, Disney.
I don't know if that's the one we want to put forward as like a
I'm putting
proof
it
of
in
concept.
the reel.
Oh, no.
I'm putting it in the reel.
We also have, I don't know if he has a name yet or if any of the characters that he is showing up as are the same character. There is sort of a proto-New Zealand that popped up in these episodes.
Yeah.
He's a very weird orange Muppet with like a sunken-in head and a giant body
real
shape.
Big chin.
Like sort of looks like a Binya Binya from
from Gullah Gullah
Island. He's got a lot of like that shaped head.
Yeah.
But he pops up, I think, almost once in all of these episodes that we watched.
He's got really cool sunglasses on the first time you see him.
Yeah, he's like a Geordie LaForge sunglasses. In that one, he's also got hair like Walter, the Muppet that doesn't show up until 2011. But he sort of looks like a New Zealand Walter Binya
He's
Binya
Walter's dad.
baby. I don't know if he gets a name. I wasn't able to like Google weird orange Muppet and figure out who that was. But it was interesting to note that there are some new puppet designs popping up in this season, and he was one that stood out to me.
Yeah, it seems like they've dispensed with some of the like shoddier looking Muppets this season so far. I can't think of anybody in particular, but the character design of background Muppet seems to be stepped up a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. There's no missing pupils or random, like, very clearly thrown together in 5 minutes type of puppets.
Yeah.
But I also think we are getting away from that Don Celine school of design a little bit more. And there
Gladys is a big indication of that, I feel like.
Yeah, I think Gladys, and there's one of the fireman puppets who sing later on who is like this like gray color with this big like Art Garfunkel curly hair, and just looks very much not like a traditional Muppet. Not in a way that bothered me, but just was like, that is a new direction for season 3.
In a way that you will see like throughout the rest of the Muppets, I feel like New Muppet Tonight Muppets follow that stage, or follow that like design ethos more than they do a Don Celine one.
I think in my head, those things started to happen later. I don't think I realized that a lot of that stuff was happening in the later seasons of The Muppet Show already. I thought that was a lot of like 90s Muppets.
Well, we're not that far away from the 90s, really.
No, it is. The Muppet Show, for some reason, feels so long ago to me. But realizing that when, season 5 wraps up, I'm going to be born like 6 years after that.
Yeah.
That's weird to think that The Muppet Show is only like 6 years older than me.
Yeah, it shouldn't exist in any of the 80s at all.
Yeah, it feels very much of the 70s. But speaking of the 70s, there's some other things that happened during this chunk of time that we're talking about. In September 1978, on the 23rd of September, Jim wrote in his journal that he flew to Atlanta to open Puppet Center. And this was when Jim began his relationship with the Center for Puppetry Arts in Atlanta, which is still open, still there, has a permanent World of Puppetry exhibit where you can go and see a lot of Jim Henson puppets, including Sopwith the Camel. And this was started as a performing arts venue, but also is like they teach puppetry. You can get like an internship there, and you can work there while learning puppetry. And a lot of people who are now Muppet performers have come through the Center for Puppetry Arts, like Peter Linz.
Cool.
And yeah, they did the ribbon cutting ceremony and opened it up on September 23rd, 1978.
Didn't they know it was his birthday the next day?
I mean, maybe they didn't care, or maybe that was a birthday gift to him, is you get to open this puppetry center. And then on the much less celebratory side of things, the next week, on September 30th, 1978, is when Edgar Bergen dies. As we mentioned previously, he was on The Muppet Show. We watched that episode in season 2, and he also will be in the Muppet movie, which at this point they have already filmed, but is not coming out yet until summer of 1979. And the Muppet movie will be dedicated to him. So getting on to the episodes we watched this week, first up on September 21st, 1978, we have the opening episode of season 3 of The Muppet Show featuring guest Helen Reddy. Helen Reddy, who actually just passed away last September.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think this whole batch of people died not like that terribly long ago. Like Roy Clark died in 2018, and I think Gene Stapleton died around 2013, I think.
That's surprising, because she's like one of those people who I guess just looked like an old lady her whole life, probably.
I think she looked much older in All in the Family than she actually was.
Right.
Because I also remember seeing her in You've Got Mail in the 90s. Still playing just an old woman. But Helen Reddy, as Sam mentioned before, she was the singer of I Am Woman, which was sort of her biggest claim to fame, but many other important songs, one including the song Blue, which was written by Joe Raposo, who was the music coordinator for Sesame Street. So she has this connection to the Muppets where Paul Williams wrote her one song, Joe Raposo wrote another, so yes, she's staying in that the Muppet family. But I think we opened this episode with one of the, if I had to pick something to be a season opener for The Muppet Show, I think a Marie Antoinette Stayin' Alive number is a pretty good choice.
It's so weird.
It's very strange. We get a party with Marie Antoinette, played by Miss Piggy, where they're dancing around and singing Stayin' Alive. And at the end, it ends with a shot of a guillotine out the window.
I really thought we were going to see Miss Piggy getting like carted off to the guillotine.
Yeah, I thought we might like even get her head sitting in the guillotine before we cut away.
They should have gone through with it. But the opening intro, we talked about it really briefly. I think it is considerably better, more snappy. But one thing I like that happens in a later episode is that they don't just cut to Statler and Waldorf for the opening gag.
Right, we get some variations on the way that they're using that joke spot in the opening.
Yeah. And in these three, Statler and Waldorf are used much less frequently, which is a big improvement over last season where they were just kind of like, we don't have Fozzie anymore to pick on as frequently, and we don't know what we're doing up here.
Well, and Fozzie, I think, is used incredibly well across these 3 episodes. Like, Fozzie is a standout character.
Totally.
Even though he doesn't get to do like a lot of his traditional comedy things, he does get to be a very, very good character.
He does get to screw everything up multiple times.
Yes.
Oh, Blue's the song she sings in the recording studio.
Oh, I think I was distracted during that sketch. That's the next sketch on the show we're talking about. They go in the recording studio. There's a bunch of Muppets hanging around that are new that we haven't seen before. But also some of the Electric Mayhem is there. Floyd is there, and Zoot is in the back playing a flute. And Floyd also has just a can of Foster's beer sitting in front of him for some reason.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Is it because of the Australia thing?
I had not put that together until just now. But maybe Floyd was like trying to be welcoming. He's like, "Hey."
Maybe they bought a 6-pack for her at the studio just to try to be nice.
There's a couple characters that have sort of like glasses of something in front of them, and I don't know if they're all supposed to be alcoholic, but Floyd's is definitely a Foster's beer can just sitting in front of him in the recording studio. But yeah, not a very memorable number, not a bad number, but it does feel like it's supposed to be more than what it ends up being, because we get a tease at the beginning that Animal is too loud in the mix. Like the recording engineers are complaining about Animal being too loud. And so you assume this whole thing is going to be about Animal continuing to be too loud no matter how much they turn him down.
Or cutaways to jokes about recording booth-based jokes or something.
Yeah, but both of those things pretty much only happen once. We get them saying Animal's too loud, and then we get Animal drumming a little loud near the end.
But I like I don't know why, I think it was just fun to have a new place to be, like the recording studio, and some new Muppets, and she wasn't just singing with the Electric Mayhem.
Yeah, and it was interesting that in this... Ralph is in the background playing piano, not Dr. Teeth. They can vary it up a little bit. But I did.
Yeah, I like seeing Ralph interact with the other musicians, because I feel like he's probably the one that they all respect a lot. He's like the old man who's been around.
They're like, oh man, you got Ralph to play on your album?
Yeah.
He's the, Billy Preston of the Muppets?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Like the fact that they're using new sets a lot this season is exciting to see some new places. Some of those new sets I don't love. I wish they'd go back to old sets. We'll get to that. But this recording studio one is one that I do hope they reuse later on.
I think I know which one you're talking about. We'll get to it, yeah.
We then have a little bit of continuation of that Beauregard subplot that you talked about, where he's trying to clean up and he's just a big dumb dummy and can't figure it out. So I put in my notes, he is the Forrest Gump of Muppets.
He really is. He's almost too. He's like gratingly stupid. He's not cute stupid like Fozzie is. He's like dangerous and he's so like innocent. He's got the like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. That kind of annoys me in a way that like your Robins will annoy me.
Yeah, it seems like he would cause a gas leak and an explosion in the theater, but not in like a Crazy Harry kind of way or anything like that. He would just like turn the wrong knob and people would be like, what's that smell? And he's like, well, you told me to turn up the gas. And he's like, so I turned it all the way up and I broke the knob and now we're going to all die.
Now I'm picturing Bo as like the caretaker at the hotel from The Shining.
The book version where he has to go and adjust the knobs all the time.
Yeah.
You know what? I would not... I think that would be a good fit.
I think so too.
All work and no play makes Bo a dull boy.
And the ghost would be really annoyed with him because he'd just be like, you told me to kill my family, so I don't know what he'd do.
He would just do it immediately. He wouldn't even hesitate.
Okay. Yeah, you're the
There
boss.
would be no struggle. He would just walk up to them in their sleep and just be like, all right, I'm done. What's next?
No. And I can see him frozen to death outside.
Oh, yeah, that weird looking face he's got going on.
Yeah.
He looks sort of like Thog.
Yeah, he does.
Like he
He's
looks
got
like a
Thog's
brown,
nose.
scaled down Thog.
That must be why I intrinsically despise him.
But we're talking too much about Beauregard. We will.
Yeah. We'll talk about him later.
We'll have a little bit to say later because we've said a lot of the things I already had from my notes for the Muppet of the Week segment.
Shoot. Okay.
But we'll talk about him more. We then have the slippery spot, which is sort of a joke that'll be recycled in Muppet Family Christmas with the Icy Patch, where repeatedly people are told about a slippery spot, and regardless of how many times they are told about it, they continue to slip on it. Here, it's mostly just Fozzie who keeps slipping on it, even though he knows about it. But we do get to see some very good puppetry from both Jim and Frank in showing a puppet slipping and falling. We do have a UK spot, though, where it's just Ralph playing a Beethoven number on his piano, and there's a bust of Beethoven on his piano that is falling asleep. Yeah, I don't know. It has a lot of UK spots. It doesn't do a lot for me. It's always nice to see Ralph, but I don't think the bust works incredibly well as like a character or anything.
I think that's the biggest problem, is that it feels like it should be... This feels like it should be amazing, but the bust of Beethoven just doesn't move enough.
Well, he doesn't also like have enough jokes. Like I feel like he could be critiquing Rolf more, or like doing some more banter back and forth with Rolf. And I don't. Yeah, I just feel like they didn't give him enough to do.
Right. Just him falling asleep doesn't look enough like anything for it to be interesting.
No, and he's sort of sculpted like the mighty Favog from SNL. And sort of he's just foam collapsing on himself as he tries to emote. And so you kind of lose the fact that he's not sculpted like a normal Muppet because he's trying to look like a convincing bust.
But yeah, him as a fun little sidekick for Rolf, that would have been cool if he was just screaming at him the whole time.
Well, you could have that be a recurring thing where he keeps popping up with Rolf, and either he like wants Rolf to play the classics really, really well, or he's asking Rolf to play something more contemporary because he's tired of hearing that old shit.
Yeah, he's bored of his own boring music.
Yeah, he doesn't want to hear his own songs played back to him.
That's embarrassing.
We then get the sweet little number of Helen Reddy singing to Kermit, "You and Me Against the World." This is, we've seen a number of these before with like Julie Andrews and Florence Henderson and other female guest stars who just have a sweet little moment where they're singing to Kermit and he's sitting on their lap. You have to imagine that Jim Henson's arm is just right there.
It's just pressed right up against her thigh.
Yeah. The awkward positions when you start to imagine what's below the frame of the Muppet Show, especially when there's many, many characters all crammed together in a scene, is always interesting to think about, and even more impressive that they pull it off and it looks so seamless.
He does look very cute in this, and I also appreciated that he wasn't skeezing on her. I feel like he skeezed on every other woman guest star except her. Maybe it helps that the song is about her and her daughter originally, so it'll be a little weird.
He's like, hey, I'm just gonna let you sing this nice song. I'm not really gonna try to hit on you at this point.
Yeah, it's also cute to, like we mentioned earlier, imagine them going to the circus and Kermit being afraid of clowns and Helen Reddy having to be like, there, Kermit. It's okay. They can't get you.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah, he's so little. It's also kind of interesting that she gets to sing so many of her own songs. I feel like that doesn't happen as much except for with like Elton John.
Well, and also to not sing, again, her biggest hit is something we've talked about in the past. And it's strange when somebody is known for like a huge song and that's not the thing they sing on the Muppet Show. I have a problem with it, but it's just, again, it's interesting to have people come on and not sing what they're most known for.
I would have done something embarrassing probably, though. I feel like if she had sang I Am Woman, they would have had like all of the male Muppets dressed in dresses or something and being... It would have not aged well, probably.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong. I could have also seen it being a competitive number between her and Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
But then we get introduced to one of my new favorite Muppets.
He's great.
Sopwith the Camel.
I can't figure out how's the arm all the way over in his head from where it looks like his construction doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, because it's a two-humped camel, and there's two men. Presumably, because 99% of the performers on the Muppet Show are men.
Yeah.
Standing in this camel. It doesn't hide humans as well as some other large body Muppets do. Like, you clearly just see their legs in brown
Very
tights.
shapely legs on this
Yeah.
camel, yeah.
But the heads are up in the humps of the camel, and the front person's arm is up in the neck of Sopwith.
And it's like a trick of the way the puppet's constructed that it looks very convincing that neck does not just have somebody's arm in it, because it seems like it dips so low. But yeah, he's great looking.
Yeah, the neck is much more convincing than the legs. They could have just put some fur on the legs, and it would have been a lot
Camels
better.
do have weird legs like that, though.
Yeah, but these are men's
stick up
legs.
for
Like,
it.
these are very clearly just men's legs.
Between him and Paul Revere's legs, they don't really know how to do ungulate legs very well.
Is a camel an ungulate?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, you're just saying things.
It seems like it would be.
You
close
sounded
enough.
confident, so I'm just going to trust you and not even Google
I
it
don't-
right now.
I'm not going to Google it either, because what's the point? I don't think they are, but
It also,
hell.
yeah. Does it affect our Muppet
Might as well
podcast
be.
at all? No.
No.
I did like, next up in the veterinarian's hospital, we have the engineer from the recording studio.
I thought that was great. That's something we've complained about a bunch of times, that it should have just been a character from earlier in the show.
It does make me wish that we had had more in the recording studio bit where Animal did blow out his ears or blow up his headphones or something.
Oh,
Because the
that would've
idea...
made so much more sense.
Yeah, like the idea is that the recording, the sound booth operator is in veterinarian's hospital because he lost his hearing. But
Yeah.
like the last time we saw him in the recording studio, he seemed absolutely fine.
Right.
So I feel like, yeah, like we could have just had that little bit of extra something to make it
Yeah, all it
make
would have
sense.
taken was a button on the end where Animal hits the drums really hard in there and smoke just flies out of their heads, and that's all you need.
Boom. Nailed it.
I also didn't like this veterinarian's hospital.
No, it's bad. There's only one line that I enjoyed in the entire thing.
I can't really put my finger on why it's so bad, but I think it's just like the puns they're only applicable to this one situation.
Well, it also felt to me that, like, a lot of times Piggy, Janice, and Rolf are sort of like in a flow, setting each other up, leading to the next
Yeah.
thing. And in this one, it almost felt like they were competing with each other for jokes.
They're both mad at Dr. Bob in this one.
Yeah, whereas like normally they act a little bit mad, but they're also setting him up for jokes. Whereas in this,
Right.
they were mad that he was making jokes at all.
Yeah, and Piggy is purely antagonistic in this. She's like off to the side going like, this is so stupid. I'm done with this shit.
And speaking of something else that maybe doesn't work well because it's very odd, the next thing is just a short number of Whatnot
Really
Muppets
short.
singing Tie Me Kangaroo Down, Sport, as a kangaroo hops along and they have it tied up on rope.
It's very weird. Is this another one because she's Australian?
I
don't
guess
know.
so.
Helen Reddy doesn't appear in this bit, though.
No, and I think they were just trying to think of like, what's Australian? This, I
Yeah.
guess.
And that kangaroo puppet looks horrible, too.
Yeah, that's the thing is like all of this number feels a little bit, I don't know, thrown together and like weird. And in looking into that song, because I had heard that song a number of times throughout the years. One, the man who wrote it was terrible and went to jail. Don't bother looking into him. But also, they used this song in the 80s as a wrestler's theme song for a wrestler named Outback Jack. Because they were
Cool.
trying to ride the popularity of Crocodile Dundee.
You gotta. Australia was hot.
Next, we find the reveal of Beauregard sweeping all of the sand out onto the stage. And while I think some of the Beauregard stuff works in this episode, I am a little worried about this sort of becoming a thing regularly, that Beauregard is messing things up by just doing things literally. And I think I'm
It
going to get
makes-
annoyed by it if it starts to become a very regular part of the show.
It also makes me feel like they are like, Beauregard's the new hit character, and they're gonna push Beauregard on us real hard, which I'm not interested in.
No, I'd much rather have Gladys stick around.
Oh, I don't know if I'd much rather have Gladys stick around. She's terrifying.
She's at least interesting.
Yeah,
she's
that's true.
got some shit like in her past. Like I feel like Gladys has a
Yeah.
very interesting backstory that we'll never get to know about. But before we get to Gladys, we got to wrap up this episode, which wraps up with a number Helen Reddy performing "We'll Sing in the Sunshine" while dancing with Sopwith the camel.
This was great. I loved this.
Yeah, I think again, there are certain big old Muppets that work really well when they're dancing around with a lady,
Mm-hmm.
and they do it a lot, and to varying results. But I think this one works really well. Again, partially because the Sopwith puppet is just so good. And after that number, they try to give Helen Reddy the camel. And that's when we find out that his name is Sopwith. And everyone reacts like that's a joke. And I didn't know why.
Did you look it up?
I did look it up.
Okay.
Because Sopwith Camel was apparently a very popular kind of World War I plane.
Yeah. I think that's what Snoopy calls his doghouse as well. The Sopwith Camel.
Yeah. So apparently a really well-known phrase to people who were, you know,
who are
older.
slightly closer to World War I. I don't know.
Yeah, which, you know, like none of the people making this show were alive during World War I, so I don't really know.
Even at that time, it was like 60 years before that. So
yeah, so I don't really know like why that was such a popular term or why everyone just knew that. But I mean, maybe it's like if they had a goose named Spruce, like we would understand Spruce Goose references. So maybe
I suppose
maybe other things were keeping Sopwith Camel in the public conscience, and we just don't know about those.
I did think this was the best one, maybe the best Statler and Waldorf bumper that I can remember. Is him smashing his hand with the hammer and saying, "After the show, nothing hurts." Very brutal takedown of the show.
Yeah, it's. I just want like that in slow motion now with like Johnny Cash's "Hurt," like playing over it.
Yeah. And I like the new outro. There's a new outro as well, a refilmed band playing. And I thought that was good with like more accurate sounds coming out when they were playing their instruments and like them doing more little cute things.
Yeah, it seems like season 3 is definitely polished. And I think there's a few things in these episodes that rubs me as almost too polished. Of like I want things a little bit rougher around the edges at times on the Muppet Show. But I think altogether it's a positive thing that we're starting to refine this into what the Muppet Show is going to be for the next 3 seasons.
And the next like the rest of the Muppets' existence.
Yeah.
Which is another, like, that surprises me a lot too, is like sometimes these episodes will be like, this could be the plot of like the 2011 Muppet movie. Like this is so contemporary to what they still are. But this one, I don't know if I was just in a good mood or what, but this episode was like one of my favorite episodes of the Muppet Show that we've ever watched for some reason.
Interesting.
I think I like Helen Reddy a lot, like as a performer, like as a person. I just felt like she was tied in with it really well. It felt like she was there. She was like engaged with all of the Muppets, and all the skits were pretty good. And I just like when it ended, I was like, oh, it was a really enjoyable half hour of the Muppet Show.
I think you're right. I think she does get to interact with the Muppets in good ways, where she actually is singing with them or to them or dancing with them, working together with them. And I think that works really well. And I think it's something we're going to talk about more here in a second, because our next episode kind of avoids doing any of that.
Okay.
We get on September 28th, 1978, the Roy Clark episode of The Muppet Show, a man who does a number of enjoyable musical numbers in this episode, but not really with Muppets that much.
With one Muppet dog who's so subtle that I didn't even realize it was a Muppet until the end. And it's not a Muppet through most of it.
Yeah. But we get Roy Clark. He's just a cowboy man. That's just what, if you need to know anything about Roy Clark, he's just a cowboy man. We open up.
The pair of chaps joke made me laugh very hard.
Yeah, so the cold open of this episode, Roy Clark is dressing up in his cowboy outfit, but he says, yeah, but where are my pair of chaps? And we get 2 British men walking in, and they are
We're the pair of chaps you ordered.
Yep, it's very good. And this is the episode where Sam mentioned earlier they use a different joke instead of a Statler and Waldorf joke in the opening number. We get Scooter yelling up to somebody, the lighting crew, saying, "Kill that light!" And you hear a machine gun start firing.
There's just something so satisfying to me about seeing the Muppets doing their jobs like behind the scenes. And I do not know what it is, but I was delighted when you saw Scooter doing stuff.
It makes him seem actually useful, because most of the time we see him being a little rat, or we see him failing at his job.
He splits the difference pretty well. I think he is useful most of the time, and he like does his job. He like gets the show on stage and stuff like that. He does what he's supposed to.
I was a little confused. I didn't go back and watch it with subtitles, so that's on me. But at the end of the opening number, when Gonzo pops out of the O and does his thing, he blows a party favor through his horn, and then he says something, and it sounds like
I think he said 3 times.
That's what I thought he said.
He does blow it 3 times, I guess.
Yeah, but like it's very weird for him to like say that. I didn't
Because it's like
understand.
it's a challenge or something like that, but it seems extremely easy.
Yeah.
You can do it 100 times.
Ooh, I can
No
blow a party
problem.
favor 3 times.
Yeah. It seems like he's almost like when you're playing with a paddle ball or something, or like it's like he's supposed to be playing a game, but he's not. I mean, at least they have new Gonzo things. There's a really good one in the next episode, but at least they're a little better than they were before. But this one was confusing.
Yeah. The show opens after the confusion about sending the crew to the country with the Roy Clark number that we described as a semi-Jack Black-ish before, where we see the members of Lubbock Lou and the Jug Huggers performing this number. They're performing Rocky Top, which is just an old country song from forever ago. And slowly, they are replaced by Roy Clark playing instruments. Not always the same instrument they were playing, which was a weird choice. But he steps in to take over for them until he is playing all of the parts of the song and also starts singing the song.
Yes. I thought this kicked ass. I loved this.
It went a little long for me.
I love old country music, so
Oh,
I was into it.
This was my favorite song when I was like 5 years old, Sam.
Whoa, really?
The very first audio recording of me ever singing in public is me singing this song.
What the heck? That's so weird.
Yes. I don't really know why I fell for this song as a child, but yes, there is a tape somewhere out there in the world of a very, very high-pitched young, like 4-year-old Matthew Gatos singing Rocky Top.
That's so cute.
But yeah, so that's why I think I was like, it actually helped me like this more than I might have otherwise. I did enjoy that just because of the era. Part of the bit of this sketch is how impressive the visuals are. And the fact that they can have 5 Roy Clarks on screen at one time. And it's not just like, oh yeah, whatever, it's green screen. Or oh yeah, there's just an image behind him. It's that he actually seems to have cloned himself in order to pull this off.
Yeah. That's one of the most Jack Black things about it is the looks he's giving his other selves through the screen, like in the different corners of the screen, just like being very impressed and pulling like the goofiest faces. And I loved when they walked backstage and there was 4 of him, like 5 of them walked backstage.
I feel like in that moment when he walks backstage, they have Floyd react to Roy Clark. And I think he just says something like, that Roy Clark is a numerous fellow.
Is that a thing people say?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But I feel like it would have been great if it was somebody like Zoot, who was maybe more high, was just like watching and just like, what is going on?
I also hated Swedish Chef way less in these first 3 episodes than I have in the past. Sometimes I feel like he's a little bit like, what's the point of having him around? But it was nice seeing him pop up in other stuff besides his own segments. But also, this next segment where he's beating up the dough was great. I loved it.
Yeah, he's preparing a very large piece of dough. I'm not entirely sure what he's supposed to be making here because it's just the entire countertop is covered in like 5-inch thick dough.
It would never bake in a million years.
No.
You'd have to have a huge oven, and it's so thick it would be raw.
Yeah.
Come on. It'd have a soggy bottom.
I mean, Swedish Chef has probably got a soggy bottom. But the giant dough does come to life in a blob-like situation where it steals the rolling pin from him and knocks him out with his own rolling pin.
They got this puppet so messy for this one, too, which usually disgusts me, but didn't too bad for this time. He got he got flour all over him, though.
I also like that it seems like it's just real dough that they're using to manipulate and act like it's a puppet, but it doesn't seem like it's foam dough that they carved and made look like dough. Like it was.
No, I think it's real.
Yeah.
It's a real absurd amount of dough.
They're just shoving their hands up through this real dough.
I think my most outstanding question about the Muppets is the cleaning methods that they would use on them. I need to see how they got this flour off of Swedish Chef, or if they just threw them in the trash and built a new one.
I have to believe they clean them off. I think probably they're Scotch guarded or something, so they're pretty protected and you can rinse them off kind of easily.
Scotch guarding.
Yeah.
Forgot all about it.
It was probably big in the 70s. I don't know. I feel like it's a thing that I hear grandmas talk about. But I think because so many of these puppets do last so many years, but we've seen them go through so many things, whether it's a pie to the face or flour dumped on them or whatever. I think they must be figuring out a way to clean these things easily.
Yeah. I always assume the pie is just made of soap that they can just wash right off.
But that chocolate mousse, I'm still worried about that mousse.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
wonder if they filmed that last in that
Then
episode.
they threw the moose in the trash.
Yeah, they're like, well, we get this. Somebody find a giant dumpster. We have a giant moose puppet to throw out.
Yeah. And David Lazer's head is exploding.
Maybe they gave him like a Viking funeral and they burned Mickey Mouse. Speaking of burning, the theater's on fire.
Yeah.
The stage is set. The audience is happy. The theater is on fire, as Fozzie says. This is maybe the worst Fozzie has fucked up.
It wasn't really his fault.
Well, no, but the fact that he hides it from Kermit is definitely his fault.
Yeah.
But there are, this is just a standout Fozzie episode in general. I think Frank Oz gets to perform Fozzie in a lot of new, interesting ways in this one, particularly in this next part where Fozzie is lying to Kermit and saying that it's jet exhaust, not smoke, that is in the theater, because some planes have been flying very low over the theater. And while convincing him of this, he both shoves Kermit to the floor to get him to duck down and makes plane noises with his mouth while covering his mouth, trying to hide the fact that he is making the plane noises. And it's just a very like a brilliant show of puppetry from Frank Oz.
Kermit's a dumbass, falls for it too.
Yeah,
He ducks the next time he tells him to.
yeah. It's weird how trusting Kermit is of his staff, even that like given how many times it's bit him in the ass.
Yeah. I guess he's just as dumb as the rest of them.
Next, we get a Pigs in Space, which Sam said was the best one we've seen so far.
I think it was the only funny one ever.
I also think it takes a little while to get there, but I think you're right that the end of this sketch is very good and funny.
I kept waiting for something sexist to happen, and it never did. So then I was like, okay, that was good.
Yeah, that's the bar we have set for Pigs in Space at this point. Is if it's not sexist, it's the best one ever.
Yep.
But no, I
like that it didn't have the big intro as well. I'm sick of seeing the like pigs in space with all their heads popping up. It doesn't deserve that level of respect.
I think the only reason we don't get that in this one is because the ship is stalled in space, and because the old intro has the swine trek flying through space. So I think we'll probably end up going back to the old intro.
I hope not.
I want to like Pigs in Space so much, and I just don't.
It has a lot of potential promise, and it's lived up to it. Like the pirate, I guess you didn't like it as much, but the pirate one with
John Cleese,
Monty Python guy, yeah, that was actually my favorite one now that I think about it. And that one lived up to the promise of like, here's a wacky character invading the ship in like an alien setting. But this one it was cute when Beaker popped up and Link goes, oh, Beaker. He knows his name.
Yeah.
That surprises me for some reason.
We also get, Gonzo pops up and he's like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah. Not a lot of Gonzo in these episodes, so it's nice to see him have a little bit of something to do.
No, but we do get some good Gonzo later on in this episode. But we have a Kuzbanian pops up, the lunch encounter monster pops up, a chopped liver shows up again, Statler pops up. We have it definitely ends on a high note, this Pigs in Space sketch, with all the random Muppets popping in. And then, to immediately deflate the energy coming out of that number, we get a very, very slow and calm Roy Clark number. He's singing a song about how, aging sucks.
With a very well-behaved dog.
Yeah, a very sleepy-looking dog who just, could not care less that they are on a TV show. But he comes out with a sheepdog while he sings Yesterday When I Was Young. And this sheepdog eventually does turn into Muppy once Roy Clark goes and sits on the edge of the stage. We mentioned that earlier, but I do like that there is more interaction with the space. It feels like a real theater. Cool.
Yeah, it's set that they had before because they've done it for UK spots with the actual footlights and you can see the ground of the stage. But it's so cool, and he goes and sits and looks at the band while he's singing. Yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah, seeing him and Gene Stapleton both get to interact with the orchestra made it feel more like a real show. Yeah,
totally.
It did make me think more about Muppy, though, because Muppy is supposed to be J.P. Gross's dog.
Right.
And he's a terrible dog owner because he's never there to take care of his dog. He just dropped his dog at the theater one day and was like, you guys take care of this.
I think maybe it's possible he's a great dog owner because Muppy wants to be a star. So that's the best place for Muppy to be is at the Muppet Show.
Well, then they're doing a bad job of making Muppy a star because Muppy...
They all hate Muppy, though.
I mean, Muppy burned some bridges very quickly with trying to get the Muppy Show to be a thing.
Yeah, that was a big no-no.
Yeah, you got to work up to trying to rename the show after yourself. We then get the weird proto-New Zealand that I mentioned earlier as part of the UK spot in this episode, where firemen show up to help put out the fire, we think, but really, they're there to audition for the Muppet Show.
Yeah, this should not have been the UK spot.
No, I feel like this
is the payoff for the plot.
Yeah, this is very important to the plot of this episode.
Yeah.
And they show up and they sing "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire," which is very good. Good call, good song choice. But I feel like, yeah, you could have moved, not that you really put, the guest in the UK spots, but that last Roy Clark song could have been the UK spot.
Feels like a UK spot, yeah.
Or even, hell, you could have, like, Gonzo's thing be part of the UK spot that he does coming up.
Oh, yeah, or like the Swedish Chef or something. But this is, like, really good and fun with Fozzie, like, panicking while they're auditioning for him, but also the payoff of the plot of the episode. So people in America were like, what? I guess they didn't care. They didn't know what they were missing.
No. And we still have, the fire going on later. So
yeah, that's true.
They just assumed the fire department never was called or anything. I did like in this where Fozzie he's so mad at these firemen for not doing their jobs and for just showing up to audition because at one point he has to basically save a chicken from the fire while these firemen are singing. And he said, "Are you proud of yourselves? You made this chicken a nervous wreck."
Yeah. I like to think that's Camilla, right?
It looks very Camilla-y, and she pops up a few times throughout these episodes without a name. But we do start to see the chicken with the blue eyeshadow throughout these episodes, including in the next talk spot, which is the second to last talk spot we will ever see on the Muppet Show.
Gene Stapleton gets one too.
Gene
right?
Stapleton is the very last of the talk spots. But first we have Roy Clark doing his, where they're just talking about living on the farm and being surrounded by all the pigs and chickens and cows and how he used to eat them all.
I like this one better at the beginning when it was talking about him playing all the different musical instruments.
Yeah.
It kind of lost me once he started talking about the animals. I didn't care.
Yeah, no, same. It doesn't necessarily have like a payoff like some of the past ones where it's transitioned into like a musical number or something else.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen better talk spots. We've seen better things where guests talk about eating the animals. It just didn't really click.
It's always a little weird when they talk about eating animals, and one of the animals they talk about eating are pigs who can talk and wear clothes.
Yeah, like cast members of the show. After that, we get a actually decent At the Dance, I think. There's a few jokes in here that land, including one which is sort of surprisingly adult for the Muppet Show.
Which one? They were all kind of about like animals cheating on their partners.
Well, there's one where a cow is dancing with Paul Revere, the horse, and says, "My husband weighs 5 tons." And Paul Revere says, "That sounds like a lot of bull." And she says, "It is, darling, it is."
Oh, okay. I didn't that one. Maybe I wasn't paying attention or something.
Yeah,
that's nasty though.
Oh, you're taking it nasty. I was just taking it as like he's saying that's a lot of bullshit.
Oh,
and then
I thought
you're saying she's talking
penis.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I did not take it that way. I was just taking it as like they almost said bullshit, essentially.
But she says it is, darling.
Well, yeah,
that's clearly in reference to the penis.
I don't know that it has to be.
I think it does.
It's just like, oh, he's a big boy. I like my bulls big.
These are a bunch of horny animals, I gotta tell you.
I mean, you're not wrong there, but I don't know that this particular spot is about penises.
Okay, I'm standing by it.
We also get a chicken dying a very violent
chopped
death.
To pieces, yes. Showering his guts all over everybody at the end.
It is apparently not Camilla at this point. Brother-in-law is fixing the ceiling fan, and he apparently did a good job because it turns on and destroys him.
Yeah. Chicken can talk in this one. That doesn't happen super often. TR talks a lot, but chickens don't talk very often.
No. They usually, if they do talk, it's very much in just like bulking. That sounds sort of like words. We continue some of the adult themes because in the next scene, Kermit's got a cigar in his mouth.
Hell yeah, he does. Cool.
I mean, it is sort of, he's forced to have that cigar in his mouth by Fozzie. It's not like Kermit just walks in smoking a big stogie. And Roy Clark's closing number of this episode is a song called "Sally Was a Good Old Girl."
Another horny, another
Very horny
bit
song,
here.
which I think is either about sex work or possibly just a woman in town who all the men cheated on their wives with.
Or she's just a woman who does a lot of odd jobs.
Yeah, but it does imply that some of those odd jobs are of the hand variety.
I suppose so. The necktie part I didn't quite understand.
No, I don't think it's all horny,
Yeah.
but there are definitely like implications that Sally will do whatever you ask her.
Yeah. She's a sex worker and a necktie salesman.
That old cliche.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun enough number. It's just very weird to see all these like country people hanging out in a barn singing about this.
It's rollicking.
Yeah.
I frankly didn't give a shit though.
Do you just not like Roy Clark?
No, I like Roy Clark. I think he should. I think when I read he was on Hee Haw, I was like, well, why didn't he get to do more stuff? Like, why didn't he get to be more funny?
Yeah,
the little glimpses of him were fun, and I liked his somber one more than you did. This one was just kind of like, they could have done something a little bit more, something.
Yeah, it sort of felt like I don't know. I didn't feel like he was performing with the Muppets at any point.
Yeah,
like it felt like they were just sort of there next to him.
Right. This could have been like a segment of a variety show or something that the Muppets just happened to be in.
Yeah.
And then Roy Clark moved on and never mentioned them again or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the show ends with the moment where Kermit's about to fire Fozzie. And Fozzie says, "You wouldn't hit a bear in front of a guest star, would you?" And pulls out Roy Clark to save his ass.
Yeah, to play his fiddle. And it works. Okay, but this really bothered me because his fiddle's smoking. So he could have just said, "It wasn't a fire. That was my fiddle."
Yeah.
What's the fire? Where's this fire situation?
And why does it not really get resolved?
No, it seems more dangerous than it ever ends up being.
Yeah, like they should be like passing out. Parts of the theater should be falling down.
Yeah.
Like this looks like a very serious fire, and nothing really ever comes of it.
But to end it with a joke revolving around smoke and not mention the fire aspect of everything, really? Or like tie it together? A little confusing, in my honest opinion. I'll forgive it, though. This was still a fun one.
Yeah, I think there's fun stuff throughout it, but I do wish Roy Clark had just performed more with the Muppets, or at least to the Muppets. Even I'm thinking like there's a future episode with Johnny Cash where he's here doing some country numbers. But it feels like he is like performing with them, like the Jug Band is his band, and it feels like he is working in partnership with the Muppets, where I feel like there's so many moments where Roy Clark is just singing a song in front of Muppets. Then on October 5th, 1978, the Gene Stapleton episode of The Muppet Show aired. I put in my notes that overall I didn't really enjoy this one, but I don't have a good concrete reason why.
Oh, I really liked this one.
Interesting. I like the first two quite a bit, especially the Helen Reddy episode. I think is the best of the bunch. This one just felt like there was like a disconnect for me, I think, between Gene Stapleton and the Muppets. There's something...
Oh, weird. I was going to say this one to me feels the most like somebody who's a fan of the Muppets getting to hang out with the Muppets. Like, she feels more part of the show than almost any other guest so far, I thought.
Interesting. That is not the vibe I got. Well, anyway... Let's get into that then. It starts off, Gene Stapleton, much like Rolf, has a secret third arm that she didn't even realize she had.
No.
Until
Nor did Rolf, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it surprised him as well. But hers tries to murder her.
Yeah.
When she says to get a grip on yourself, Gene, it goes to strangle her.
Her mind isn't as strong as Rolf's is.
Yeah.
She can't handle the cosmic horror of sprouting another limb.
Maybe during the intro she had to chop it off in a very violent scene that we didn't get to see.
Yeah.
She had to fight her own
and
limb.
It's crawling around and like an Evil Dead 2.
We open up with a number that seems very familiar and a lot like a previous Miss Piggy number.
Right.
But this one...
Same set and everything maybe too,
I think
right?
it is the same set where whenever they're going to do a song set in Mexico, they have this set to fall back on. And yeah, Annie Sue is performing this one though, and it's called Tico Tico.
I'm not smart enough to know where it was supposed to be because at the end soldiers come with and like round up the tourists. So is it Cuba?
Well, the song is Brazilian.
Okay, because that hat she has on is like traditional wear of not Cuban people. think it's like Chile or something like that.
But then at the opening of this, Kermit also says we're going to go south of the border, which implies Mexico.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff south of the border, I suppose, but that does imply Mexico. So they were a little confused, and they didn't have Wikipedia to look up what was going on in South America, I suppose.
It comes across to me as being like Mexican or Spanish or something, but it's a Portuguese song, it's Brazilian, and none of this reads as being set in Brazil. So
yeah,
it just feels like a little mixed.
And I'm not smart enough to know where the various armed conflicts in South America were happening in the 70s.
No, there's two things we don't know about: armed conflicts and camels.
I did like when they threw Annie Sue up in the air at the end, and it was just her floppy puppet flying around.
I love there's a lot of times that we get, random Muppets flying around, and there's always that moment before where something needs to happen, either a cut or other Muppets will be distracting you to like look over here while you can tell we're giving the puppeteer time to like take the puppet off of their arm or something. Yeah. Because a large crowd gathers in front of Annie Sue in this number before she starts flying into the air.
Yeah, I do like that it pays, because like during this one you're like, why is it Annie Sue? And I did appreciate that it pays off like that question of why Annie Sue is even there in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I do like this whole like sort of rivalry we also get throughout of Annie Sue showing up more and being I guess younger. It's implied that she's quite young later on in the episode, but like a younger foil to Miss Piggy. To further confuse the geography of that sketch, we then have Gonzo coming out looking for his Mexican jumping beans, and he's trying to learn Spanish. During this little scene that we have between Gonzo and Kermit, Crazy Harry walks by in the background, looking real creepy, looking real mischievous,
foreboding, yes,
in a way that made me think he's the one who ate the beans. Because Gonzo says something about like his Mexican jumping beans are gone, and then Crazy Harry just walks by like hee, and you're like, oh, clearly he did something with the beans, and then no one addresses him. Kermit watches him walk by awkwardly, and then Animal comes in, and we find out that Animal ate the Mexican jumping beans.
I guess you could just assume Crazy Harry's always there being creepy.
But it's so odd that he walks, like, he doesn't just walk by in the background up on the balcony or whatever. He walks directly, like, between Gonzo and Kermit as if he is a part of this, and it almost feels like somebody just put on the Crazy Harry puppet and decided to walk through the scene without telling anyone.
And he has the outfit on that he'll be wearing in the last number, too. So it feels like it will set up that happening throughout the whole thing, but he just shows up at the end. Like, at least he shows up at the end. It would be even more creepy if he didn't show up at the end and he just walked by that one time. But there's no reason Crazy Harry would eat jumping beans, though.
No, really. But I could see him tricking Animal into eating them.
I guess so.
But we also don't get any like payoff from him being around for that part. So I don't really know why he's being creepy. He's like, if there was more Muppets walking through in the background, I'd be fine with it. But because he's the only character we see in that scene that's not Gonzo or Kermit, it feels like there's a purpose to him being there.
Maybe it's just to remind you he exists. So then when she says, when she mentions him later, it's like, oh, I guess I know who that guy is.
Yeah, I've seen that guy. Then we have Gene Stapleton and Fozzie performing Play a Simple Melody together, again interacting with the Muppet Orchestra a little bit more than we normally see people doing that.
She starts off by yelling at them because they're being too fancy.
Yeah, they're playing the wrong song, I believe, to start off with.
I think so. It's a little confusing. I'm not really sure what the point of it is besides to like... I'm not really sure what the point of it is, I guess. Because they figure it out and then she's like, okay, great.
Yeah. I think that was maybe my issue with Gene Stapleton in this episode, is it felt like there was like an extra degree that they could have taken a lot of her bits to, that it just didn't quite go there, where if she could have been like feuding with the orchestra throughout her song, like they kept messing it up or kept changing something and she kept getting angry about it. I feel like that would have been like, I don't know. I don't want to like pick it apart too much, but like I feel like there was just something missing in each of the Gene Stapleton segments for me.
It was also a little weird that she's like, I'm supposed to do this song with Fozzie, but he's not here. And then he's just like, here I am. And he's not like, sorry, I'm late. He's just like, I was just going to show up whenever I was ready to be on stage.
Yeah, it was almost like they just didn't have anything for Fozzie to say at the beginning when she's arguing with the orchestra. So they were just like, okay, we'll just keep him off stage until we're ready for him.
Well, they couldn't show him on stage and her at the same time.
Well, you're
'Cause
not
it would be-
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
They don't have that
'Cause it would
technology
just
yet.
be Frank Oz laying on the ground. But I liked it because this felt to me like Jean Stapleton showed up and she's like, I want to talk to as many Muppets as humanly possible. I would like to talk to every single Muppet, so please cram them all in my sketches, which made her feel like she was there to me.
She does get to interact with a lot of characters that the guest star does not normally get to have conversations with.
Then we get our first look at the nightmare that is Gladys.
Yeah, I think Gladys walks by in one of the backgrounds of a previous episode in this batch, but this is the first time we really get to know Gladys because she is bringing.
Does anybody really know Gladys?
Nobody
though?
does. Nobody gets. She's the person who, when the Muppet crew is like, "Hey, we're all going out for drinks on Friday night. You want to come?" She's like, "No, I'm busy."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, okay, Gladys. Sorry, didn't mean to bother you." But she brings Kermit a sandwich, which he did not order. It turns out to be Gonzo's sandwich because it's a walnut and lima bean sandwich, which Kermit just knows Gonzo's sandwich order, which is kind of sweet.
This sandwich prop bothered me deeply because it was disgusting looking. It looked like it had bugs in it, like little flies and stuff, which Kermit would have loved, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't read as like walnut and lima beans, and it's also on a very, very dark like rye bread or something, and so it just doesn't immediately look like a sandwich.
No, not at all. Maybe in England they're only eating open-faced sandwiches. I don't know what they're doing over there, but
They put beans on their toast. Maybe it's something like that.
that's true. Yeah.
I don't think they call it like a bean sandwich though.
I don't think they do either, but they should.
And then we have, and at the dance.
I thought this one sucked.
It did
because Kermit
suck.
keeps being like, I don't get that joke. It's the most easy joke to get. The lady doesn't have a mouth, Kermit. What don't you get?
Well, and it's like, at the dance is already one of your weakest segments on this show.
Yeah.
So to poke holes in the entire segment and just say, like, these jokes aren't funny, I'm like, yeah, I know that, Kermit. You don't have to tell me.
We still have to watch it, though, Kermit.
It doesn't suck getting to hear Rolf and getting to see him have some fun, even if it's at his expense. We have the UK spot in this episode, which is another Annie Sue number, where she's singing, Daddy Wouldn't Buy Me a Bow Wow. And every time she gets to the main line, Rolf jumps in and says, "Bow wow."
Bow wow. But he's doing it against his will, and he's embarrassed, and he tries to stop. And then a caveman pig comes out and threatens him with a giant club, which is so strange.
Yeah, a very mean pig who seems to like maybe be like Annie Sue's bouncer or security guard or something.
Her manager or something like that.
Yeah, comes out and threatens violence against Rolf if he does not continue singing "Bow Wow."
But he is dressed in caveman attire and has a giant club.
You're not wrong.
Why?
I don't know.
Why, though?
I don't have a good answer for you, Sam.
I almost wish he had like a gun or something and was like in a suit. That would make more sense.
Like a mob boss pig or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like putting it right in Rolf's forehead, being like, you better sing this fucking song, dog.
Bow wow, bow wow, bow wow.
Instead, it's just kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What were they freaking smoking, huh?
There's also, threatening violence in the Muppet world is a little bit of an empty gesture at times because so many things happen to these Muppets that's so horrible that they survive, no problem, that I'm like, Rolf taking a club to the head is not going to be the worst thing that happens to him this week.
No, you could probably decapitate Rolf and he would live through it.
Yeah. Did we ever see a decapitated Muppet? We've seen their heads like blow off or shoot into the sky in some of the At the Dances, but
I suppose if your head exploding counts as decapitation, then yes, we have. I don't know. It does seem like there'd be a bit where a Muppet's head would float off their body with a green screen effect of some sort.
Well, and definitely just remembering that in Muppets Haunted Mansion, Fozzie is holding his own head.
Oh, I guess I thought you meant up until this point.
Oh, well, yeah, I was thinking in general if we ever see a Muppet with their head separate from their body.
I think in Muppet Christmas Carol, Marley and Marley switch heads too.
I think you're right.
At one point.
Yeah,
Maybe.
We've seen some very grim images from the Muppets.
We've seen some shit and we can't unsee it.
After that, we get the last talk spot we will ever have. I don't know
Going out on a high note, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the last time we'll ever see this set. For sure, but I know it is the last official talk spot that gets recorded for the Muppet Show. Yeah, and this is Jean Stapleton blowing the lid off of this story that, Swedish Chef, he doesn't actually speak Swedish.
She's snitching on Swedish Chef.
Yeah, she's
That
telling
seems
Sam
low
Eagle
to me.
that Swedish Chef has not been speaking real Swedish this entire time. And she knows this and can talk to him because she took a correspondence course in mock Swedish. So mock Swedish, real language, actually
a whole
useful.
different language.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets a little dicey when they're speaking mock Japanese.
Yeah, because Sam Eagle insists that Chef, I think in his words, speaks normal, is Sam Eagle's word for it. And so Swedish Chef agrees to speak his native language, which is apparently mock Japanese.
Yeah. Swedish Chef's identity is so interesting.
He is quite the
Even
enigma.
Up until today. Yes. His shifting nationality, shifting gender identifications. Very interesting guy.
Yeah. His name's possibly Megan, and he's possibly mock Japanese.
What's he hiding?
I mean, I don't think we're ever going to find out. Him and Gladys, maybe they're married. Maybe that's the secret romance that's happening on the side. That's why they opened up the canteen together.
It's like an even freakier George and Gladys or whatever.
Mildred.
Yeah. Mildred, yeah.
Gladys is this one.
Gladys is this one. Who's the one who does Hilda?
Hilda.
Still miss Hilda. Hilda is a great addition to the cast that I don't know why they got rid of her, but
yeah, I don't Mildred wasn't bringing a lot to the table, but I think Hilda was an interesting backstage character. Then we have Piggy complaining to Kermit that she's not part of the next sketch and that he was going to have Annie Sue in it instead. And Piggy ends up worming her way into the sketch, which is interesting and better than I ever expected it to be.
I love this.
Yeah, it's a Muppet melodrama where Uncle Deadly is playing the villain and has tied Piggy to the railroad tracks. And the hero, played by Wayne, shows up to rescue Miss Piggy, and even Miss Piggy is surprised to see Wayne again. She's like, Wayne? And then it ends in the most bizarre, Muppety way you can imagine when Wayne recognizes the knots that Uncle Deadly used to tie Piggy up to the railroad tracks because he was in the Junior Swamp Scouts.
Yes.
And then
they were both Swamp Scouts.
Yeah, they find out that they were both Junior Swamp Scouts, and they recite the old Junior Swamp Scout motto, and they just kind of walk off together as proud
Wayne
new
helps
friends.
him tie his knot better.
Yeah.
First, and then they walk off together. I thought this was so funny and so cute, and it was like Uncle Deadly getting like a spot that really makes sense for him on the show. I was so sad when I looked at the Muppet Melodrama entry on Muppet Wiki, and there's only 2 of them because this could have been Pigs in Space. This makes way more sense for a variety show.
Well, and to have a built-in villain as opposed to like Link Hogthrob is sometimes sort of a villain in those sketches, but is not billed to be the villain.
No.
Uncle Deadly is just a natural villain.
Yeah, his name's Uncle Deadly.
Yeah, and he looks like a dragon.
But him and Wayne is such a good combo too. It's so funny. And,
yeah, the idea of them being
Piggy,
friends is just fantastic. And the fact that this sketch, you could not predict where this sketch is going, no matter how many opportunities I gave you to guess.
Yeah, and then Piggy does a crunch and rips the friggin' railroad tracks off the thing. And yeah, the idea of her as the damsel in distress when she is like the greatest mortal combatant of all Muppets. Very good.
Yeah. Then we get a new Muppet Labs set, which is the one that I remarked earlier I do not love.
It's confounding. I don't understand it.
Yeah, they're in a new Muppet Labs, which just looks sort of like a biology classroom. It's not very exciting.
I guess it's like a college, yeah.
There's not big giant computers in the back like there was previously. And there also seems to be like an English countryside outside the window.
Well, maybe it is supposed to be like an Ivy League school or something.
Maybe they're working at Oxford.
I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
Oxford's probably not Ivy League. I don't know anything about schools. I went to a liberal arts college in Chicago.
I think you have to be in America to be Ivy League.
I think that might be the case. Man, we don't know anything, do we?
I went to, I barely went to college. My brain barely went to college.
We both went to like liberal arts schools in Chicago.
Yeah.
We don't know nothing about camels. We don't know anything about Oxford, Ivy League schools, or the other thing that I already forgot.
But I liked this Muppet Lab.
Oh, absolutely. The sketch itself is great.
Yeah. So Beaker takes some shrinking pills. At the detail I liked the most was when they're walking off stage and Bunsen's like looking down at the ground while he's walking behind Kermit and he's like, oh boy, I shrunk a little Beaky down. I thought Gene Stapleton was going to step on him, which would have been a nice little, if she had like stepped off of the landing and it went meep, like a little crunch.
One of Beaker's many deaths. But no, instead, we just get Jean Stapleton walking in to reveal that she has chosen to do a closing duet with her favorite Muppet.
And if you had to guess in a million years what her favorite Muppet would be, I would guess Fozzie. I thought Fozzie would come back. You're never going to guess who it is, though.
Unless we said it earlier, then you probably know. Or you watched this episode
Watching
previously.
this episode, though, I was like, who could it be? I wonder. Miss Piggy, perhaps?
Nope. Sam, it's Crazy Harry.
What? I can't believe... It did make me wonder if Jean Stapleton's favorite Muppet actually was Crazy Harry, and she requested to do a piece with him.
It could be, because I know we've read a lot of stories of performers coming in and specifically saying, like, I want to perform with Miss Piggy, or I want to do something with Fozzie. So it might be the truth that Jean Stapleton's favorite character is Crazy Harry, which is endearing.
Yeah, it seems too weird to not be true.
And this is, I think, my favorite Crazy Harry thing we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's actually legitimately very good.
Yeah.
The set is nuts. It looks like a Dr. Robotnik death trap. It looks like a Sonic the Hedgehog boss fight.
Yeah, he has an explodophone, which is an instrument that takes up the entire stage, and it's just a bunch of rigged explosives, essentially. It's not entirely different from other things Crazy Harry has done.
Anything else he's ever done.
No.
It just looks more intricate.
Yeah, it's more professional. And Jean Stapleton gets really close to a couple of those explosions, like worryingly
Man, those
close.
flash pods, I would assume they're loud.
And she doesn't seem phased at all.
Or anything.
She keeps on going. She keeps on singing. And I was worried about her a couple times.
That lady's got to have a lot of hairspray in her hair as well. So
well, there's one point where it looks like she's on fire, but she's not. Like they changed the angle of the camera, and she is a ways away from the flame. But I was a little worried that her hair was on fire.
But yeah, it was good. I was shocked that it was good.
Yeah, this is how you use Crazy Harry. Like, you use him for his specific skill set. And if anyone's going to play an explodophone, it's going to be Crazy Harry.
Yeah, why not? And then I think that they used him really well in the little last, host button, too. Because usually they say, uh-oh, that act bombed or something. And he'd be like, did somebody say bomb? But they're just saying random words. And he's like, did somebody say the end of the show? And they're like, that's not how this works, Crazy Harry. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, this is the most unhinged, actually crazy Harry we've ever seen. Because I think Kermit says something about oh, they really got a kick out of it. And he's like, did someone say kick out of it? And he's blows something up. And Kermit says, you can't do that for just anything. And he's like, did somebody say just anything?
That's so funny.
Which is fair, because there have been a number of times where we've criticized Crazy Harry for it's a stretch of if somebody says oh, you dropped it, and he's like, did somebody say drop? Boom, and you're like, okay, that's not a thing. So at least he's acknowledging that he is not beholden to people just saying boom or bomb.
Yeah, he's truly come unmoored from the niceties of society.
He just wants to blow people up. That's all he wants.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think overall a pretty good batch. Again, none of them blew me away. Cue Crazy Harry. But yeah, I did not I didn't dislike any of them. I just didn't have any strong feelings about the Jean Stapleton one, in any direction.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I thought this was one of the better, maybe not the most exciting batch, but in terms of quality, the level was so much higher, I feel like, than it has been. I don't know. There's just something about these that I really liked, where I felt like it gelled, that maybe they weren't taking as many big swings, and there's some season 2 episodes that were truly great, but these felt like baseline level season 3, and that baseline is higher than it has been before.
Yeah, I would agree with that even if there's things in here that I didn't love, they are so far better than the worst of season 2. And there might be some stinkers in season 3. I don't know. But yeah, I did not actively dislike anything in these episodes.
No, there's nothing truly confounding. There was no guest that felt like they were super underutilized. There was just Roy Clark who felt like he maybe wasn't trying as hard as he could have tried.
Or weirdly not leaning into his whole country dynamic quite as hard as you would think they would for somebody like that who's on freaking hee-haw forever. It's okay, if you're going to have him be country, go full on with it.
Yeah, get some hay bales in the backstage and stuff.
Well, we talked about him quite a bit earlier, so we probably don't have a lot left to say about him. But this week's Muppet of the Week is Beauregard. I put in my notes that he is a very strong but not very bright janitor. We haven't seen his strength really shown off yet in the Muppet Show, but we will see later on that he is called upon to lift heavy things for the Muppets.
Yeah, his most famous character portrait is him just casually carrying an anvil around.
Right. And yeah, again, there's not a lot to say about Beauregard in general, and we already talked about him quite a bit. So, yes, he kind of looks like a shrunken down brown thug. He sort of has that SNL Muppet look to him, where he's got some feathers and some griminess happening with him. I don't really know, if we're starting to get into that sort of Dark Crystal era of the Muppets a little bit more again.
Yeah, there's a newer Muppets. I feel like are caricature-y, Johnny Fiamma kind of things, or they're realistic animals, and Bo is right down the middle of those.
Yeah, he's a bit of an Uncanny Valley type of Muppet where it feels like he's in the category of Gonzo, where he's a whatever people might talk about, what is he?
What is this guy? Is he a bear?
Yeah.
Is he a possum? Who knows? He's never questioned though, like Gonzo is. I don't know why people put the heat on Gonzo so much all the time.
I think Gonzo is he's more in he gets a little bit more existential and thinks about his own being a little bit more. Yeah. Beauregard just accepts whatever is happening to him, so he's just.
And I guess if you're purple or blue or whatever, you got to be why am I this color? And then if you're just brown furry, then you could just be I'm just some animal on Earth. I guess they're all brown and furry.
Yeah. Just a raccoon and a possum had an evening, and now I exist.
and now my life is hell.
So yes, this is the debut of Beauregard that we saw. In production order, he debuts in a different episode, but as far as TV goes, we saw Helen Reddy episode is the first episode Beauregard is on. And he will go on to appear throughout all of these last 3 seasons of The Muppet Show. And he'll also be in The Great Muppet Caper and Muppets at Walt Disney World and Muppets Tonight. And he'll just keep popping up in smaller parts from here on out. Rarely does he get to play a huge, important role in anything, but he is usually around. And he has been performed by Dave Goelz since day one. Again, most Dave Goelz characters are in this category where we've got Bunsen and Gonzo and Beauregard, because when you have the guy still kicking and still performing,
still willing to do Muppet stuff for you.
Yeah, so his characters are always some of the rare characters who have been performed by one guy since the 70s. I'm sure there are a few instances probably of other people having to step in and perform Beauregard in something, but I could not find specific examples of that. It's worth noting, we've talked about Walt Kelly's Pogo in the past, which was a comic strip that Jim Henson was really into. There's a character in that named Beauregard. So there's some speculation that maybe Jim Henson got the name for Beauregard from Pogo.
He is an alligator, though, I think, right? No, that's Albert. Oh, Beauregard's like an old hound dog in a cute stripy shirt.
Oh, yeah, he's way cuter than our Beauregard.
Oh, it would have been great to see a Jim Henson Pogo thing. They're so similar. Emmett Otter is basically Pogo as well. Even though that's based on a different book, it's the vibe is exactly the same.
I need to read some Pogo.
It's good. It's so beautiful. It gets a little weird. I think I've talked about this before. It gets a little weird eventually because it's based on, because it starts to get into political satire, but it's 70s political satire. So it's kind of don't really get who this pig obviously has the human face of someone, but I do not know who. But also, it says that here that Bo is based on Wendell the porcupine. Did you already say that?
No, I did not. But Muppet Wiki does say that Beauregard was based on that, which, I mean, totally makes sense. They are essentially the same character. Wendell's maybe got a little bit more charm to him.
Yeah.
But we also spend
Wendell's
less time with him.
Wendell's got a little bit of a greedy streak or something. He's a little bit more of a real person than Beauregard is.
Yeah, and we don't see him mess as many things up for other people.
No.
But Dave Goelz is quoted as saying that the main reason why Beauregard never became a star was because the writers thought he was too passive and that he didn't desire anything. And so that made him difficult to write for, which I can totally see. Yeah. And we sort of alluded to that earlier, of it's weird that Beauregard is not necessarily pushed that hard. And it seems like they just didn't figure out a way to do that properly.
It feels like they were really excited about him for a couple episodes, and then they were like, what is this? What is this guy's deal? This guy's a loser.
Yeah. And he kind of stays a loser forever. In the 2011 Muppets movie, I remember they open a closet and Beauregard's in there. And it's just like, oh, where have you guys been?
Yeah.
Just been like in a closet for 30 years.
And nobody cared to even ask where he was.
No,
so.
he wasn't part of the montage of like, we got to get the gang back together. And the last little fun fact I have about Beauregard is that eventually we find out his mop is named Beauregard.
Does he love his mop just like George?
I believe he also does have a mop fetish like George.
Okay.
But George is ridden off into the sunset to live with Mildred. And we'll only see him as like a background character now or popping up in the intro.
Yeah, that's a way you could. I feel like that's a way you could have saved Beauregard is by having him and George be like a Abbott and Costello duo, where George is just like trying to teach him how to be a janitor, and Beauregard is just like, I'm too stupid. I simply can't learn anything. And then George screaming at him. That would have been a fun little dynamic, maybe.
Maybe Beauregard is the son of George and Mildred.
Oh no, maybe so.
Like when you take a purple Muppety lady and a human-looking Muppet man, and their baby looks like Beauregard.
Do you think there's a chance that two Muppets could have a human child?
Are you saying like a Kermit and a Piggy? Or like some Whatnot kind of?
No. I think if a Whatnot and a human Muppet, like a George and Mildred.
I'm going to say yes, because I think Walter is the opposite of that, where two humans had a Muppet child.
Yeah. Well, I posited in the past that it's like the X-Men X gene. So two mutants can have a non-mutant baby.
Right, it could be like a recessive gene.
Yeah.
The Muppet, you know what? I don't know that it's enough for a full movie, but I want you to like write a treatment for like the Muppet gene something, whether that's a graphic novel or a short story or something. The idea of the Muppet gene being a thing.
We have to get to the bottom of this one way or the other.
Yeah, we don't know enough about Walter to know how he has a human brother and presumably human parents. I don't think we ever see them. But
Or like, can regular pigs have a Miss Piggy? Like, was she the union of two regular pigs?
Or is the Muppet gene stronger in Fozzie than it is in Bobo, which is why Bobo is like more traditionally bear-like.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna write a term paper about it or something.
A full-on dissertation about the Muppet gene and its effects on our characters. Yeah, so, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of Beauregard so far, but I think we got the gist of what Beauregard's going to bring to the table. Do you have a rating for Beauregard?
I've turned around on Robin, like him all right now. I think I'm never going to turn around on Beauregard. I think he's too annoying.
Yeah, he's not as, like, offensive to me as Marvin Suggs is, who, thankfully, we have not seen in a while.
I like Marvin Suggs.
But I do feel like I might get annoyed by him if he is as prevalent as I think he might be for the rest of the show. If
they're trying to make him the breakout character of season 3 or something, then I'm not going to like that. I'm going to give him 2 stars. I kind of just don't like his whole vibe.
That's fair. I'm going to give him a 31.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Beauregard. I do think I like him in Muppets Go to Disney World. I don't remember if I do or not, but I think he's like, he and Miss Piggy have a fun dynamic, I'm pretty sure. So I'll have to reassess when we get to that.
I think his bumbling works a little bit better in certain scenarios than others.
Yeah.
And so, like, him being in a new scenario at Walt Disney World or whatever makes it makes it more fun rather than him just ruining the Muppet Show week after week.
Him being a major liability.
And yet not getting fired for some reason.
Yeah. And Fozzie adding immensely to the quality of the show and being fired at the drop of a hat.
He did set the theater on fire.
He didn't set it on fire. It just was on fire.
Okay. He
did not do that.
He did send the crew to the country.
I bet Zoot set it on fire because he's smoking weed.
His like little saxophone bong.
Yeah, the Electric Mayhem did it somehow, I bet.
I could completely buy that the Electric Mayhem accidentally set the theater on fire and then they just bailed.
Yeah, they got out.
They didn't tell anyone that it was on fire. It happened and they left.
Yeah.
They're just like, someone will take care of that. So on top of all the Muppet stuff we watched this week, was there anything non-Muppety that you watched and enjoyed this week, Sam?
Not really. I'm still watching a lot of Vampire Diaries and playing a lot of Halo. So I'm pretty stagnant at the moment. Oh, we're rewatching Witcher to watch Witcher season 2, and I still love it. I think Witcher's great. It's basically like Xena Warrior Princess except new and starring Henry Cavill, which is, you can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
How about you?
I finished season 2 of For All Mankind, which I had been watching previously and talked about.
Yeah.
It's the weird sort of otherworldly space show of like, what if the Russians were first on the moon? And then what if, because of that competitiveness, what if we had a base on the moon by the 80s? And then what if we were trying to go to Mars by the 90s kind of thing? And it's, at times, does things, I think the best comparison for me is like, you know those episodes of Mad Men that are sort of frustrating? Like the worst episodes of Mad Men?
I think Mad Men all runs together into one like 75-hour movie.
Gotcha.
So I can't think of what in particular one you'd be talking about.
There are just some episodes of Mad Men that I find a little bit like they become like less believable, or certain characters are getting into something really strange that you're just like, oh, okay, we're spending a lot of time on this character trait. And there are, I feel like most of For All Mankind is like the worst of Mad Men, where it's still pretty good, but there are times where I'm just like, oh, you're going to do that? Okay, I don't understand why the characters are making that choice. But in the end, it all sort of has a great payoff and is interesting overall. There are just, I could see it being a show that people quit on because it's, yeah, if you're...
It stretches your disbelief a little bit too much or something.
Yeah, and weirdly not even in the space parts of things. Like, the space stuff is all like hypothetical, obviously, but none of that am I looking at going like, that wouldn't happen. It's mostly like the interpersonal relationships and the choices that humans are making when it's like, why would they ever just suddenly become that person? What are they doing? So yes, somewhat frustrating. They're making a third season, I believe. I'll watch it when it comes out. But there are moments where I'm just shaking my head at it, wondering why they are doing certain things.
Right. I assume neither of us have seen the Spider-Man movie.
No, I assumed you had seen it, but I have not yet.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, feeling a little icky about going to theaters still.
Yeah, me too.
And also haven't finished my rewatch of the other Spider-Man movies, which I want to do before I go watch the new one. Yeah, I haven't been able to bring myself to watch Spider-Man 3 yet. But yeah, we watched It's a Wonderful Life last night. And this is Muppety, obviously, but we watched Muppet Family Christmas this week to be in the Christmas spirit.
You know what strikes me about Muppet Family Christmas? Kermit and Piggy seem to be in a confirmed relationship.
Oh, absolutely. They're absolutely dating in that.
Yeah.
Which I think will be interesting as we go through the process of this podcast, seeing the times where it's like pretty solidly confirmed, which seems to happen in the 80s at some point, that they are definitely a couple. Because there are moments where they go on talk shows to discuss their breakups. And so that is confirming that they were dating before that moment. So next week, we will be diving into more of Season 3 of The Muppet Show, and that's it. There's no other TV appearances or anything we'll be watching next time. The 3 episodes will be featuring guest James Coco, Liberace, and Loretta Lynn, which are all on Disney+, if you want to check those out. I'm excited to see what the Liberace episode brings, if we get some like Liberace and Ralph piano duel or something. But before we go, we need to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at KermitmentPod, where we'll tweet out some fun things and share what we're watching for the upcoming episodes. You can also email us at mail@kermitment.com. And actually, we are working our way towards a Sesame Street retrospective, the first 10 years of Sesame Street episode that we'll be doing in February. And if you have any Sesame Street memories or specific characters you'd like us to talk about, or any questions about Sesame Street, or just your thoughts on Sesame Street that you'd like to share with us, feel free to go ahead and email us those at mail@kermitment.com. And you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.